Alright, this is Mike, Fish Dad. We're on seduction. It's a nice day here in June. We're off of the rock pile right now in about 11 feet of water. We're trying for cobia, and so I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about how I fish for cobia. This is not the only way to fish for cobia, but this is the way I've kind of done it, and I've had some success at it. I'm not a cobia expert, but I just want to kind of talk you through at least what I'm doing here and how I do it. First thing you do, you gotta get your chum bucket going, and come on over here. Got the chum bucket going. Big bucket on the bottom. You can kind of show it down here too. This is a big bucket on the bottom. Lots of chum in there. This one's the chum slick, master chum slick, with a nice secure lid on it, and I've got about 15 pounds of lead on the bottom. They're just little dumbbell weights. And what it does is it makes it go straight down so it's not angled out. And you just got to come by here and you got to get the chum going, and you got to shake it, bring it all the way up to the surface, shake it every once in a while, get your chum slick going just as good as you can go. We are doing the Menhaden drip today. We've got the jug of Menhaden milk. Yeah, $21.99 is what a 10-gallon costs. So, but that's cobia fishing. I don't buy the expensive IV drip things. I just use the very simple water bottle technique with a hole punched in the lid, piece of fishing line tied to it, secured with a rubber band so it hangs upside down. You hang it over the side of the boat, and usually just the rocking of the boat, the popping of the boat, is just enough to keep it dripping. If it's not dripping good, you got to tap it a few times or make a little bit bigger hole, but that's very effective. Gets a nice little Menhaden drip going. So you got some oil on the surface and milk on the surface, as well. So you got to get that going first, because you hopefully everywhere behind you in the boat you got a nice chum slick going, so any cobia that's in the area will hopefully come visit you. The tackle, I'm using fairly heavy tackle. This one's a TLD 15 with 80-pound Power Pro. I've also got some Toriums, same 80-pound Power Pro. I've used a very simple rig. I use a Gamakatsu Octopus. Here for cobia, I'm still using J-hooks. Some people have success with circles, but I'm using the Octopus strong, slightly offset J-hook. Snelled hook. Make sure all your hooks are snelled. You'll increase your hookup ratio with the snelled hook. This is 80-pound mono on a simple fish finder rig, just to slide them up and down. I like the little pyramid sinkers because they stick better. They don't roll like the egg sinkers do. Any kind of sinker that has edges to it and doesn't roll will work. Cobia fishing, I don't cast everything out real far. Actually, I'm keeping most of the lines fairly close to the chum bucket. Or as much as I can in the chum slick. So I don't try to zing lines out real far. The idea is that if they find your chum, they're going to come to your chum bucket. So I don't try to zing out there real far. Just right out behind the boat and beside the boat. They'll come and visit your boat. Today I've got 4 lines on the bottom. I like these little rod riggers to help get it out a little bit. I like to use free spool with the clicker on, and let them run with it for a while, and then you can set the hook once he's running for a little while. Because oftentimes the cobia, they're only going to bite half the eel and run with it before they decide to swallow it. So they're going to bite maybe half the eel, and so the hook is not in his mouth yet. So if you try to set that hook too soon, you might pull it. So I've got 4 lines on the bottom. And we've got one spinner. It's a bait caster. and it's on a free line back there. Sometimes I'll put it on a float, but this one's just free lined, and it's just back there. So I've got a 5-line spread out. Matt Dunn is with me, and he's been catching croaker and spot. And so we have most of the eels out, but now we've got live croaker and spot. We put 1 croaker out and 1 spot out. So that just helps figure out what they're interested in, whether they're interested in the eel, the croaker, or the spot. You kind of have a variety out right now. The other thing you can do that we do sometimes, we're back here doing some chunking. We're not chunking so much like we are you might for striper, but we're just periodically throwing out some chunks. I like to throw them up current a little bit, give it a little toss up current, let them sink, and hopefully they're sinking down and laying down around your spread somewhere. My thinking is that the chum brings the cobia to the boat, and the chunks will help keep the cobia to your boat. The other thing the chunks will do, once they start feeding on the little menhaden chunks, if they find it, is they'll get them in a feeding mode. Get them hungry. They start feeding, they come to your boat, okay, there's more food here, I'm going to start feeding. So now they're going to start looking for other stuff, and hopefully they'll find your hook bait somewhere. So that's the idea of the chunks. You don't want to over chunk too much, you don't want to feed them, you're just trying to get them in a feeding mode. And if they visit your boat, if the chum slick brings them to the boat, you want to keep them at the boat for a little while until they find your baits, because sometimes the chum slick might get them here, but right now the water's kind of dirty because of the storms we had last night. So they may come, the chum may bring them in, but they'll leave real quick if they can't find your baits in the dirty water. So hopefully the menhaden chunks helps bring them here. So that's pretty much it. Now it's just a waiting game, but it's not just a lazy man's fishing. You've got to check your baits, because right now there's a lot of grass in the water. You got to make sure your bait's clean. You got to make sure your bait's alive. So you got to check all 5 baits frequently. You've got to shake the chum bucket. You've got to keep your menhaden flow going. So it's not the kind of fishing really a lot of people think. You just put your spread out and you go read a book. It really is not quite that easy. You're always doing something. But it is a waiting game. We're trying to wait for them to show up now. Right now there are bluefish and spot and croaker all around the chum bucket. You can see them. We've caught some on little fish bites, and we put some out on the hooks. So hopefully we're out here. Hopefully we'll get a cobia next. Thanks.